Next on Investigative Report. The poverty mindset. Why the majority of society struggles to break even. The vast majority dream of owning a luxury car of their choosing to match a luxury home in their style and finish, with billiard room included. But in reality, could it be our own impoverished childhood mindset preventing us from attaining wealth and our dreams? And now, the poverty mindset, while the majority of society struggles to break even. What happens when we fail to achieve the dreams we held as children? How does this impact our self-esteem, especially when we feel that our efforts are meaningless due to a poverty mindset and a defeated outlook on our futures? Professor Irving Goffman, a prominent sociologist, once said, "Every man is his own jailer." And this quote highlights how we often alter our behavior around others to maintain a favorable, well-off image in public. Now, much like actors performing on a stage, even if we are broke or broken. Now, such behavior frequently originates from our childhood experiences and our yearning for acceptance from strangers, which influences how we behave as adults. As we grow older, these experiences can lead to negative thought patterns that contribute to a poverty mindset. This mindset breeds feelings of jealousy and resentment towards those who have more, ultimately holding us back and obscuring our true potential with self-doubt and limiting beliefs, all while we pretend that everything is all right and that we are financially stable. So a negative mindset can make you still pretend that everything's great even though it sucks. Good evening, and welcome to this Investigative Report. Tonight we will delve into the poverty mindset and its impact on individuals across different countries, including you. Now, it's important to note that one does not have to come from a disadvantaged background to be influenced by this mindset. A study conducted by the National Institutes of Health in 2018 reveals how a poverty mindset coupled with a lack of emotional support can adversely affect child development. Now, they say this affects the child's white brain matter and gray brain matter from growing. Now, the research indicated that these challenges can create stress that hampers brain growth in children, as I said before, making it more difficult for them to learn and navigate life's difficult challenges as adults when they need to deal with stress instead of running from stress. Now, the findings suggest that when a parent, particularly a mother, is caught in a poverty mindset, it can negatively impact her children's learning and memory skills, which are essential for securing a good career and achieving financial independence from her. And tragically, the struggles that faced by a parent can ripple down to their children. So what mom goes through, the children can ultimately go through. Now, the roots of poverty mindset always trace back to childhood, heavily influenced by maternal attitudes. Interestingly, children are born without this mindset. It typically forms as they grow. For instance, when kids frequently hear phrases like, "we can't afford it," they may begin to believe that financial issues are a permanent fixture in their lives as well. Our perceptions of wealth are also shaped by our friends and family's attitudes towards wealth. So, what your family thinks about money can affect the child as well, the broader family. This mindset can alter how we perceive ourselves in relationship to others. When we compare ourselves to those we believe are more successful, feelings of envy can arise. This can lead us to think that we deserve similar success. Now, such emotions may harm our self-esteem and generate negative feelings, causing us to wish for the failure of other people's success instead of concentrating on our own personal growth. And this often leads to a stage where selling for what we have achieved becomes the norm. So we settle back. If I can't make it, I'll just maintain what I have. Research indicates that by around the age of 25, our views on relationships, finances, and life situations tend to become more fixed in the brain, largely influenced by our childhood experiences. So by that age, you have settled for what you have. It's interesting that the poverty mindset often has a bigger impact when we become adults than when we are children living with our parents.
You're watching MNN, the Men's Channel.
What I mean is that all the lessons we learned about living on the cheap from our parents and our youth kick in automatically once we leave our childhood homes and begin our adult life. So that's when people begin to fail, not when they're at home. At this stage, everything we've learned can sometimes turn into tools that undermine the future we envision, a bigger future that our parents may never have considered. This can trap our dreams and unleash nightmarish thoughts that serve to undermine our lives and our success. This self-imposed prison of the mind reminds me of a line from the Eagles' song, Already Gone, which says, "So oftentimes it happens that we live our lives in chains, and we never even know we have the key." This idea relates to any self-imposed limit or self-sabotage a person might experience after leaving a restrictive home, community, or harmful environment. Let me give you an example. A soldier may not develop post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD for short, until after returning from a combat environment and adjusting to civilian life, where things are much peaceful. Then once they are out of the combat zone, the trauma can show up in a peaceful situation, even if they want to be strong. So, similarly, when a prisoner gets released from prison, they often hope for a fresh start and aim to improve their lives. However, many prisoners reoffend because they have internalized negative behavior while in prison. Now, as far as your life, this can also happen to adults after they leave their childhood homes, especially if they grew up in an environment that viewed money negatively. Now, while children often see wealth as a good thing, they can also adopt negative views from parents who see wealthy people as bad people. This is a famous topic, especially surrounding the high people in tech today. This leads to a struggle to achieve financial success for the child.
You're watching MNN, the Men's Channel.
When a child grows up in a family struggling with money, they often feel embarrassed around their friends. This embarrassment can make them want to distance themselves from their family. At this stage, it's common for a child to ask to be dropped off a few blocks from school to avoid being seen with their parents. Just let me out here. I'll walk. So if that's embarrassment, so are the parents' feelings about what the child has just said. They may promise themselves to live differently than their parents and seek a successful and wealthy life to escape their upbringing. Now, this attitude they believe is different from their parents, who focus on just getting by. That's a child's belief, not a parent's belief. At the same time, the child may feel pressure to keep up with their peers, as feeling poor can create a backwards desire to spend money instead of growing wealth. As a result, some adults who were once children from low-income mindsets believe they must cut ties with their families to achieve financial success, as if the stigma of poverty could transfer to them through association. Now, this belief is misguided because they will need their family support later in life. Research shows that many individuals who escape poor neighborhoods or environments with an impoverished mindset often return within 5 years more frequently than a former prisoner who reoffend. In fact, former prisoners often have a better chance of success after incarceration than those trying to overcome a mindset of poverty passed down through generations. In communities where poverty is common, young adults often say things like, "We never had enough money when I was growing up," or "My parents couldn't afford my college tuition, and that's why I didn't go to college." These thoughts come from a mindset, not from the real possibilities for the future. Now, you don't need a college degree to get a good job today, and your future is not only shaped by your parents' past. I don't know why a lot of people feel this way. There are two things our parents cannot pass down to us: their limits and their beliefs. These are burdens we place on ourselves. However, during the 18 years we live with them, our parents can give us a cycle of generational trauma and unforgiveness for what we have experienced in their homes, we pass that on. For a child to forgive a parent, they must understand that the parent has likely gone through similar challenges as a child, which is why they teach us in the way they do. This understanding helps us break the cycle and heal our past before we can create a better future for ourselves and a better life for the children that we create. Instead of working at a job that brings you minimum pay, oftentimes it takes but one spark to become an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is a way that most people have made it to wealth in any country. That's why I wrote the book Salty People, so that you may understand that the people in your past, although negative, help propel you into wealth, so you can be at the top of your game, at the top of the world. Links are in the description. Science shows us that the best way to raise a child to become a successful adult is to provide a home that is financially stable and to ensure that the mother has an abundance of love even in the absence of money. In effect, love is the key to wealth. Alexander de Hager, a well-known Dutch author, discussed this topic of raising children by stating, "It is not the environment that you grow up in. It is the environment that grows up in you." He also remarked, "When a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment in which it grows, not the flower." And the best advice, I believe, to help those who are trying to heal themselves from a poverty mindset, it's not finding yourself that's hard. It's facing yourself that is. Not everyone with the poverty mindset comes from a poor background. This is a story about us, about all of us. Some children from middle class or wealthy families may still feel restricted by their parents about what they can buy or do, leading to feelings of deprivation. A poverty mindset comes from past experiences reflected upon our current circumstances. And ultimately, it is something we create for ourselves. The Greek philosopher Gorgias stated around 427 BCE that the only reality is your reality in any given situation. This means that we see the world based on our perspectives, not necessarily how it really is. The evidence shows that two children raised in the same household with differing beliefs can perceive their family's financial situation in contrasting ways. One child may believe that the family is doing well, while the other may feel that they are struggling, and all of this from the same household. This discrepancy challenges the views of some economists who argue that many people face financial difficulties due to inflation and the rising cost of living exceeding their salaries. And we hear this now with the price of eggs. However, this perspective often overlooks a crucial factor: the poverty mindset, which can affect anyone. This mindset influences how individuals perceive and manage their money. It can clarify why one child might leave home and achieve financial success, while the other feels like a failure during difficult times, even though they are fully employed. Children who grow up in areas with few opportunities often see the world as lacking possibilities. This view affects how they think about money and relationships. For example, a girl with this mindset might dream of marrying a rich man to improve her life, hoping for safety and excitement from that particular relationship. Now, similarly, boys in the same situation may picture a life with beautiful women and success, believing they must be wealthy first to deserve her love. Now, both of these situations are based around the lack of money. These ideas focus on money, which shapes our views on relationships, especially with the influence of reality TV shows that always feature wealthy celebrities. Now, love based on money is not real love. It can become more like a business transaction. When money or beauty fades away, people may walk away too. These children's desires often come from feelings of worthlessness tied to their upbringing. They believe finding a wealthy or attractive partner will improve their self-worth and self-esteem. However, these outside relational factors are temporary. If they go away, self-esteem can drop. True self-esteem should come from within. Choosing a partner based on dreams and unmet needs often means looking for a savior instead of a genuine partner, which can lead to weak relationships. And I was in a relationship business for over 30 years, and most of the weak ones are based around money, not love.
Now it's clear to me we miscommunicated. You equivocated. You've already moved on, I'm alone and so damn jaded. And I hate it, 'cause all I needed was a simple yes or no. How would I know? All you gave me, maybe, baby, how'd I know if you never showed? She's pretty and she's very long.
The current psychoanalytic opinion suggests that when children seek the perfect partner, they may unintentionally sabotage their own success by undermining the very person they once admired. And this often happens because they approach love similarly to how they view money, frugally. They might distribute their love as if it were currency, expecting something in return, or treating the relationship as a barter system, or something more like a prison trade system where one prisoner trades a pack of cigarettes for something different. Furthermore, they may develop a blame-oriented mindset, feeling superior to their partner, or fail to recognize their partner's value in the way they wish to be appreciated themselves. And relationships that begin from a place of scarcity often lead to situations where one partner assumes a caregiving role while the other becomes dependent. This creates a cycle of emotional pain. A caregiver role and a dependent role is the same as your childhood, where you were damaged. The partner raised in a scarcity mindset may try to compete with their partner instead of cooperating with them. Now, this happens until both partners are usually broken. Therefore, it is evident that financial factors not only influence our economic future, but also have a significant impact on our romantic relationships as well. Now, but is there any proof of lasting damage for a child growing up with a poverty mindset? There is. A recent article from Cornell University discusses a study by Gary Evans, who looked at how growing up in poverty harms children's mental health. He says the stress from their early environment can negatively impact their adult lives and future success. Evans, a child psychologist who studies the effects of stress on children, followed hundreds of people over 15 years. He found that those raised in poverty tended to be more impatient and angry with others than those from more stable backgrounds. So two things are key: anger and impatience from poverty. The study showed that adults who grew up in a poverty experience had more psychological distress. They are more likely to display antisocial behavior like aggression and bullying, and they often feel more helpless compared to those from middle-income families. So when it comes to something that they can't solve, they feel more stress. Children in poverty also deal with more ongoing physical stress and have greater difficulties with short-term memory when they're young and in the long run. The main cause of these problems is stress. Evans notes that children in low-income families face significantly more stress, often due to tough home situations, so it traces back to childhood, as I said before, and parents who struggle to cope. So if their parents struggled, they will also. He also believes that children raised in poverty are likely to remain poor as adults. For example, a son, he says, has a 40% chance of earning the same income as his father. This reflects the low social mobility in the United States compared to other wealthy countries, he says. Some people mistakenly think that working hard and following the rules will lead to success, but Evan argues this is not the case. Separately, and a previous research backs this up, showing that long-term exposure to stress, like family problems and poor living conditions, can lead to feelings of helplessness for children. The study measured mental health using a standard index asking questions like, "I argue a lot," and "I am too impatient." Adults who grew up poor often agree with these situations and statements more than those from middle-income backgrounds. Additionally, the study examined physical stress through blood pressure, stress hormones, and body mass index. It found that adults who spent their childhood in poverty had higher levels of physical stress throughout their entire lives. In a completely separate study conducted by the American Psychological Association, researchers examined children raised in marginalized homes compared to those from middle to wealthy class backgrounds. The study suggests that children who view the world through a lens of poverty may tend to spend money impulsively, especially during times of crisis. So when times are difficult, instead of pulling back, saving, or portioning out their money, they spend in excess. This behavior is linked to cognitive alterations that occur in the brain of a child. Cognitive alterations are changes in how someone thinks, learns, remembers, makes judgments, and decides what they're going to do. Now, these changes can happen because of conditions that affect how the brain works. In children, various issues such as anxiety, depression, and PTSD can impact their cognitive abilities. As a result, these individuals often engage in impulsive spending, which benefits retailers. Now, not them. That promotes retail therapy as a way to cope with emotional struggles. Many people in this situation may spend all their earnings in an attempt to surround themselves with consumer goods, seeking to soothe their feelings and prove that they are not poor. The study indicates that they prioritize immediate needs over long-term financial planning or savings, leaving them vulnerable during desperate times and perpetuating a cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. This tendency to waste hard-earned money arises not from a mindset focused on prosperity, when you surround yourself with these items, as it may appear to friends and neighbors, but from a poverty mindset. This mindset is driven by a desire to fulfill unachieved childhood dreams in adulthood.
You're watching MNN, the Men's Channel.
For the past 50 years, many people have believed that to escape poverty, you need to create a plan to get rich and become a millionaire by age 30. That's actually laughable. Now, this idea is completely false. In 2023, the United States saw the creation of 500,000 new millionaires, but this is less than 1% of the population. This shows that if an average person wants to build wealth, they need to change their mindset from focusing on poverty to focusing on wealth. Now, this is a tough challenge because most people are taught to fit in rather than to stand out. However, standing out is often how people create wealth, which is why we look up to the 1%, because their lives are totally different from the masses. If you want to get there the way they got there, might I suggest starting your own business? Running a business is the best way to gain financial freedom and success, no matter where you are in the world. It does not matter the country. Children growing up in communities surrounded by a poverty mindset face tough challenges. They must deal with limited supplies and attend public schools that prepare them for outdated jobs that pay very little wages. And this is the crux of the poverty mindset. So instead of learning how to start their own business and build wealth, they often learn to settle for less on a clock from 9 to 5, Saturday through Sunday. Here are some compelling statistics about building wealth through business ownership. In 2019, the median net worth of self-employed families was $380,000, which is more than 4 times greater than the $90,000 net worth of a typical working family. Even more striking is that 88% of all millionaires are business owners. In that same year, the median household income in the United States was $68,000, while the poverty threshold for a family of 4 was $26,000. The most concerning aspect of this scenario is that students are often encouraged to incur debt to obtain college degrees that may not provide substantial benefits, while the average cost of a business license is less than the price of a McDonald's meal. Instead of working at a job that brings you minimum pay, oftentimes it takes but one spark to become an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is a way that most people have made it to wealth in any country. That's why I wrote the book Salty People, so that you may understand that the people in your past, although negative, help propel you into wealth, so you can be at the top of your game, at the top of the world. Links are in the description. To facilitate this shift from poverty to wealth, individuals must let go of conflicting beliefs about wealth. Those with a poverty mindset may desire to be rich, but subconsciously, they might believe that it is impossible coming from their particular background. This creates a conflict between their desires and their beliefs. In such cases, the brain tends to prioritize strong beliefs over wishes, which is a psychological phenomenon known as confirmation bias. This bias serves to protect the individual by adhering to what they genuinely believe rather than what they have not yet experienced or do not have proof of. Now, while the path to wealth is marked by clues, it does not provide proof unless one actively seeks it out, moving beyond the social herd mentality and taking risks that challenge one's limited mindset. The second largest hurdle to achieving wealth is the prevailing belief that rich people are inherently mean, selfish, or hoard money. It is a significant mental leap to go from craving wealth to simultaneously despising it as well as everyone connected to it. How can one get wealthy if we believe that everybody wealthy is a mean person? This is something that exists in every country. People have a desire to be rich, at the same time they hate rich. The amount of money you currently control is closely linked to what you believe about wealth. This is why motivation often doesn't help people move from poverty to wealth. You can't just wish your way to wealth, just as you can't wish your way in or out of poverty. Both mindsets come from deep feelings about money, not just life experiences. Think about someone who built their wealth carefully. If they lost everything, their drive to succeed would help them recover and likely earn more money. And this is the case throughout any country. In contrast, someone with a poverty mindset might suddenly receive a lot of money, let's say through the lottery or some kind of winning, but may waste it because they don't feel deserving inside. They might give money to their friends who don't support them, and eventually that money will slip slowly through their hands. For years, motivational speakers and wealth experts have tried to lift people with poor money mindsets. They tell people that hard work, inspiration, and intelligence will lead to financial success. Others hope for luck in the stock market to escape their financial struggles. Others hope for luck through the lottery. But while these speakers profit from selling their advice, few of their followers achieve real success. The truth is that changing a limited mindset is often harder than getting out of a physical prison. So the prison of the mind is stronger than an actual physical prison, and many prisoners will climb a gate 12 foot high for freedom. People with a poverty mindset often fall for get-rich-quick schemes because they're desperate for wealth. For example, people in lower-income communities buy lottery tickets 61% more often than others in the remaining 45 states for which that lottery is sold. Unfortunately, many of these dreams end in disappointment. When these quick-fix plans fail, most people give up on their dreams and look for the next flash investment over for quick profits without putting in the needed effort or building the right foundation for true success. As I mentioned before, I want to emphasize again that you don't have to be financially poor to have a poverty mindset. In any country facing an economic downturn, you can observe people from diverse backgrounds buying lottery tickets in hopes of escaping a stagnant economy. For example, stores in China have been running out of lottery tickets as many unemployed college graduates look for ways to navigate through tough economic times. Breaking free from a poverty mindset can be empowering. Many people unknowingly hold back their own success, especially when they get close to achieving their goals, right at the finish line. This can happen in small ways, like hitting the snooze button too much, or going to bed early when there are still opportunities available. Then there are others that distract themselves with temporary activities or substances to silence doubts about their self-worth. The good news is that having a positive mindset is essential, especially during difficult financial times, something your parents may not have had. Even successful people like Walt Disney, Mike Tyson, Even President Donald Trump and MC Hammer have faced challenges, and each has faced bankruptcy. Everyone experiences ups and downs in life, regardless of their social status. For those from less privileged backgrounds, setbacks can feel especially discouraging and make them feel mentally trapped in poverty. This fear can stop them from pursuing their dreams and recognizing the many opportunities available.
You're watching MNN, the Men's Channel.
Changing this mindset can be tough. The instinct to protect what little they have can block growth. This behavior, known as loss aversion, makes people cautious about taking risks, even when there are promising opportunities on the other end. Creating wealth involves two main steps: increasing income and being willing to invest in chances that show how wealth can lead to freedom. Now, most people don't seek money just for the sake of it. They just don't seek it for paper money. They actually crave freedom from their past experiences, and that money provides you with freedom. Now, to build a better mindset and set a good example, it's crucial to connect with a community that supports personal growth. Engaging with such a community offers valuable insight into wealth creation that go beyond simple dreams or shallow images of wealth in magazines. Today, many young people want to become millionaires by the age of 30, as I said before, but few think about the real cost of being wealthy, the real cost of being a millionaire. What's behind that? I'll give you an example. Now, to be a millionaire, the monthly electric bill for a large mansion can reach around $40,000. That adds up to about $500,000 a year, with costs possibly being even higher based on the climate, so if you live in a hotter or colder climate. Now, along with electricity, the monthly cost for water and sewage can add thousands, especially if there is a pool, in-ground pool. Lawn care, including irrigation and landscaping, can increase expenses even more. If you plan to hire staff for a large mansion, such as maids, butlers, cooks, nannies, and gardeners, you should anticipate spending between $20,000 and $30,000 each month on their salaries, in addition to your mortgage payments. Now, this can amount to an approximately $500,000 per year extra. Furthermore, if you want the staff available around the clock, these costs will increase. So overall, maintaining a large mansion can cost you around $1 million a year after taxes. So if being rich is still your goal, I recommend developing good habits to attain the freedoms you desire, regardless of your current situation. If you want to be wealthy, avoid acting like you already are without first experiencing that lifestyle. So you have a lot of people going around pretending to be wealthy, even though they know they're not. In impoverished areas, people often go to great lengths to present themselves as wealthy, hoping the community will perceive them that particular way. In contrast, in communities with genuine wealth, wealthy individuals tend to dress casually and downplay their financial status. This dynamic reflects the wisdom of King Solomon, who said, "One person pretends to be rich, yet has nothing. Another pretends to be poor, yet has great wealth." In less affluent communities, people often prioritize instant gratification by purchasing items to fill the emptiness they feel in their lives. In contrast, those who are genuinely affluent tend to delay their gratification in pursuit of long-term success. So the difference between a community, one wants success immediately and one will take it down the road. However, if you aspire to be wealthy, there are steps you can take, regardless of your current income bracket, to move in that direction. For the brain moves the body where feelings and emotions go first. So start by making small adjustments to the lifestyle you desire. I'll give you an example. If you love chocolate, don't settle for an ordinary brand you can get in the store. Instead, go online and treat yourself to a high-quality, expensive chocolate bar, taking the time to fully enjoy the experience that wealth can provide for you, the freedom of choice. This change is an investment in your desires and your dreams. When you feel inspired by your goals, your actions will naturally align with them. If you find that tasting foods or experiences in a more upscale setting taste strange, it may indicate that you've grown too accustomed to average offerings. This tendency can become a default for the brain when faced with unfamiliarity of personal growth. As a rule, Set aside some money for wealth tasting experiences every second payday. So there's a certain payday where you pay your bills, a certain payday where you pay yourself. This will help your taste, sample, and explore things that once felt out of reach for you. One reason many people struggle to embrace new wealth is that they feel that they don't belong in certain communities. Our conditioned thinking about money can keep us tied to neighborhoods where we feel welcome, stopping us from exploring the life we desire from the outside of that community. When you visit more affluent areas, you will see that most shoppers dress simply. You don't need to worry about dressing up. Today, wealthy people often dress modestly, while those with less money, as I said before, may try to dress up as if they are rich. As I mentioned previously, wealthy individuals tend to be misers, while those focused on poverty may tend to be spendthrifts. So one spends their money in excess, one holds on to their money for future offerings. By spending wisely on experiences, you can feel deserving of wealth. This is better than just saving for a limited retirement or buying mass-produced items sold at those big box stores that don't bring real value. Once you buy the stuff at those big box stores, you can't sell it for anything. So focusing on wealth you want to experience, rather than just dreaming about it, can help you move towards your goal and away from communal poverty mindset. This leads me to another common misconception about wealth. Many people see themselves as failures because they believe they aren't smart enough to take advantage of opportunities for immediate success. This mindset can result in significant financial setbacks over time, causing them to rely on credit cards, government assistance, or high-interest loans in some cases. Now, individuals may even move back in with their parents whom they once regarded as financial failures, only to realize that their parents had actually earned more money throughout their careers than they typically will.
You're watching MNN, the Men's Channel.
The trend of earning less than our parents became prominent during the tumultuous 1980s, a decade marked by social upheaval and economic uncertainty. During this time, the government revealed alarming findings indicating that the current generation of young adults was on track to earn less than their parents for the first time in history. In the late 1990s, Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan echoed this concern as many members of Congress began to recognize the damaging effects of President Johnson's ambitious war on poverty, which was a series of initiatives aimed at uplifting the nation's most vulnerable citizens. Instead of alleviating poverty, the war on poverty resulted in a significant increase in the number of individuals identifying as poor. Since 1964, U.S. taxpayers have spent $22 trillion on anti-poverty programs, a sum that could buy 63,000 brand new 747 jumbo jetliners in the year 2025, or 733,000 brand new Ford Escape cars, which amounts to 2 new cars for every man, woman, and child in America today. Interestingly enough, the United States is not the largest spender on welfare. France, a much smaller country, allocates over 30% of its GDP to social welfare. And this is not a criticism of people who rely on social programs. Once individuals begin to depend on assistance, it can be challenging for them to break free from that dependency, especially if they have a poverty mindset. They often face penalties when they try to do this. When they're working towards a more prosperous future, they are penalized for higher salary. This creates a paradox. Government support aims to help individuals escape poverty, but it can also create a false sense of security. People might feel relaxed, thinking a safety net will protect them. However, this net, made with good intentions, can turn into a trap. One day the support that seemed reliable could vanish, leaving people to deal with a difficult situation. We are actually seeing this now as government spending cuts gain momentum. This serves as a reminder about trust, resilience, and the fine line between support and dependence. And since the Johnson administration, many people in society have looked to the government for help, including farmers and normal citizens and corporations during tough times, even when things are good. In return, the government provides assistance which can limit generational mobility. You want numbers? The number of single-parent households has risen significantly from 4% in 1940 to 25% in 2023, which is a 525% increase. This change has created a big market for businesses to target. Additionally, the money given to those in need has become a source of profit for retailers who take advantage of our tendency to spend more than we should. Our spending habits affect the personal consumption expenditure, or PCE index for short, which helps the Federal Reserve understand how we use our money and shows retailers where the best targets live and shop. Remember, as I said before, people with a poverty mindset spend more, and so those programs are designed for people to spend more. Every penny the government gives to people through assistance programs is meant to go back to business very rapidly. People receiving these benefits are not expected to save money. If they do, they might lose their benefits. Instead, it is best for them to spend the money right away to keep part of the economy working well, to keep the economy humming along. Those individuals often spend their money quickly, driven by a mindset of limited resources, which helps keep the beneficiary weak and the economy strong. Focusing on the marginalized groups often comes down to profit. Manufacturers and retailers have recognized that many customers with a scarcity mindset frequently feel they are in a survival mode or have a trauma from their past. This mindset causes them to spend money quickly now, even if it leads to problems or homelessness later. As more innocent people with limited financial resources are birthed into that system, companies will keep profiting from new potential clientele. Ironically enough, although those from low-income backgrounds might spend less on each store purchase, they usually shop more often than wealthier customers. A lot of people won't believe that, but here's an example. When examining billion or trillion-dollar corporations, you often find that their marketing targets individuals who live paycheck to paycheck and struggle just to get by. This culture fosters competition among people, pushing them to compare themselves with their neighbors to demonstrate financial success and avoid being seen as poor. So, you may be poor, you may have limited means, but the name of the game is to pretend that you're not, or keeping up with the Joneses. As a result, many feel pressure to purchase trendy products to gain social acceptance, while those who don't conform risk being excluded from social circles. Don't believe that people with a poor mindset spend more than the wealthy? Consider this example. A top earner can afford to buy a new car, while someone with a poverty mindset may only be able to purchase a used rundown vehicle. For instance, a used car might cost $4,000, but it could require an additional $6,000 for maintenance before it breaks down anyway. As a result, a lower-income buyer might end up purchasing a used car every year to commute to a job that doesn't even pay enough to cover gas. In contrast, a wealthier buyer can enjoy their car for years with minimal annual maintenance. Ironically, the lower-income buyer ends up spending more on vehicles over time than the wealthier buyer. So the money is in poverty, not in wealth. There are 8.5 billion people on the planet today. That's where the wealth is, not in the top 1% who take the wealth from them. Now, this pattern applies to all purchases made by those with a poverty mindset. Manufacturers don't aim to sell quality items to lower-income customers just once, not just once. Instead, they seek to sell them repeatedly. For instance, a single mother trying to find affordable shoes might shop at the discount stores for the lowest price. But these stores often offer very low-quality products. As a result, she may need to buy 3 pairs of shoes each year, while her wealthier counterpart spends more upfront on a single high-quality pair that lasts 5 years. In essence, people with limited means often pay more in total than those who can afford to buy higher quality items. This phenomenon is even more apparent when it comes to food. Did you know that the average person working one or more jobs to make ends meet often lacks the time to prepare meals for their family at home? So by the time you get off of those 2 to 3 jobs, you are burnt out. You can't cook food. Instead, they resort to fast food, which is convenient but costly. A typical fast food meal for a family of 3 is around $35 today. And if they eat out for all 3 meals in a day, the total can cost in excess of $100. Now, over the course of a month, these expenses can amount to approximately $3,000 or $36,000 per year on a dual income. So you have mother and father working multiple jobs that have to pay to eat out. In effect, families at the lower end of the income spectrum are often working to afford food, spending more on meals than on rent, healthcare, and utilities combined. This living to eat creates a booming business model centered around low-income customers, providing little incentive to uplift anyone out of poverty. As a result, we have transitioned from a small subset of impoverished individuals to a widespread poverty mindset, even affecting households that were once on the brink of financial stability. Instead of working at a job that brings you minimum pay, oftentimes it takes but one spark to become an entrepreneur. Entrepreneur is a way that most people have made it to wealth in any country. That's why I wrote the book Salty People, so that you may understand that the people in your past, although negative, help propel you into wealth, so you can be at the top of your game, at the top of the world. Links are in the description. Retailers found a valuable insight. People often buy more when they feel jealous or competitive instead of when they want to cooperate or simply need something. So it's best to compete with your neighbor than buy something you actually need. This idea came about during the rise of the cool generation, not in the 1970s or 1980s, but in 1955, when James Dean represented what was considered cool for the first time. At that time, the clothing industry shifted from traditional styles to those that matched this new idea of being cool. Today, the idea of being cool has become normalized. This means that very few people are aware that we are as uniform as a culture like we were in the suits in the 1940s. Since that time period, advertising has adapted more towards a strategy called bandwagon advertising. This technique shows happy people enjoying life and suggesting that buying a product will make you feel the same way. Many commercials can make you feel inadequate if you can't afford what others have, especially your neighbors. Advertisers create a sense of competitiveness and jealousy among customers. They help you will share your positive experiences with the products that you purchase and encourage your friends to buy, or even inspire rivals to do the same out of spite and jealousy.